Awesome. So I want to welcome Jessica tonight to talk a little bit about what she's been doing for the last almost a month and a half at Kenzie Academy, studying UX engineering. A lot of people come to Career Karma asking, should I be a designer? Should I be a data scientist? Should I be an engineer? With most schools, you kind of have to choose whether you do design or you do engineering. Um, I know Kenzie Academy has a unique track where you can do both, and I think Jessica, having already started her courses, I think she'll have a lot of insight explaining what UX design is, what she's been learning, and what UX designers even do. So just want to say welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you again for asking. So, hey, everybody.
Yeah, and maybe as we're getting started, I would love, we'll unpack your story in a little bit, but to the people who are just joining, what is UX design and how is it different than UX engineering?
Yes, definitely. So UX, the front end of it is the UX design. That is the user experience. So if you look on your phone, how you use an app and the emotions that you get from that, that's the psychology part of that. That's what you get to do. How the app looks and how it feels when you do that, that's the user part of it. That's the front end. Really fun part. The other part of that is the back end. That does it work? All of the things together to make one complete app or a website.
And when it comes to UX design, what have you already been doing at Kenzie? How does it, like, what do you actually learn? Because I know with coding you start learning JavaScript or you start learning HTML. As you're learning UX design, what are some of the things that you're learning? Because I think people might be interested in kind of starting with similar resources. By the way, Jessica, you might be breaking up. Is it my connection?
No, I think somebody's not muted.
Oh, okay, I'm muted them. Okay, you're back.
So, awesome. What we've been learning so far has been quite a bit. So, like I was saying earlier, everything works in succession of each thing. So first you start with an app idea, and that's just to get your practice, right? And then next you'll start with interviewing. You have to get accustomed to interviewing your client, getting in the head of your client, their users, or your users. After that, you go into storyboarding. And what storyboarding is, which is really fun, you basically just get to put your idea on paper and make it a visual so they can get the real picture, like, oh, I didn't know this was going to go here. So, and that's when feedback come in. We also have done wireframing, which is cool. That's when you actually get to put together an app. It's not just a picture. You get to put your wording here, your buttons here. You get to organize how this app is going to look. And then you go back into feedback. Feedback is, it's a twofer. It can be really good, but if you don't know how to give or receive feedback, it can be problems. Just simply because you can't say, oh, this needs to pop, or let's change something, and you don't know what to do. You're not getting really good feedback as far as what needs to be changed, or if something needs to be bigger or smaller or something like that. Also, if you're very sensitive to feedback when it comes to something that's constructive, like, hey, that's a really good idea, but why don't we move this notification bell here? Well, no, I think I like it right here. It's cool to definitely push back, but take into consideration, if you didn't birth it, it's not your baby. So you can't be too sensitive with that. So after that is card sorting. That's what we're on now. And that's basically putting everything into order. And I like to call it, I feel like this is my favorite part, because I like it when I have to, but you're kind of manipulating the user, the mind of the user. So you know how you want an app to go, and you know what you want the person to do after, say for instance, when you log in, what do you do next? So when you do card sorting, your client or your coworker, colleague, you have different what do you call it? Different categories, and then you have different things that goes in that categories. Like we just did one for all of the states in North America and South America. So the two cards were the U.S. and South America, and then you put which states goes where. And so if someone was to do that completely incorrect, you're like, okay, well, let me rethink, because obviously I organized it a little bit different. So that's what we're doing now.
Cool. And we'll dig deeper. And I think you mentioned to me earlier you had some stuff you wanted to share with the people on the call as well. What was your background before joining Kenzie? How did you kind of stumble into this field?
So I did the traditional route. I went to college. I got 2 degrees. One was in psychology and the other one was in communications. I've actually never officially worked in either of those. I've had really good jobs, but not a career. So that's always been frustrating. I've wanted to get into tech for a while, but for me specifically, it was very intimidating. And one thing I don't usually share, which I have to get into the practice now of sharing, I'm dyslexic. And I also have dyscalculia. So with that comes a whole nother, course of stresses and challenges and things like that. But it comes to the point where you have to make a decision for yourself to get outside of your comfort zone. And you have to really pep yourself up, because one thing everybody really needs to know, the intimacy of your story gives you the authority to be great. It really does. Everything happens for a reason. I know that's so cliche, but everything happens for a reason. And so with that, I was talking to my husband. I'm like, you know what? I'm really tired, because he's good. He's in career. He's fine. And so I'm like, I'm really tired of just having job. I really want to get into tech, but I don't know how. Like, what am I going to do? How can I tech? Who does that? And so I swear, I feel like Alexa was listening to me, because I got on my phone and I saw an ad on IG. IG never refreshes for me. Never. And it did that day. And I clicked on the app. That's how I got to the 21-day challenge.
What was the app?
It was the CK app. It was a CK app. I was on Instagram and it was an ad for Career Karma. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but let me go ahead and click on it. Clicked on it, and pretty much the rest is history. I reached out to Ruben, and I was excited, but I was trying to figure out halfway through, really, am I going to be able to do this? What sacrifices would I have to, deal with now? Because now I have a family. Can I really go back to school? And everybody's talking boot camp. So without knowing that I was doing card sorting, I was putting into categories what I wanted and what I needed and what was important to me. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out and was like, is there any boot camp that goes like a little bit slower? I don't have a tech background at all. This is intimidating. And he was like, yeah, try out Kenzie Academy. And I was like, noted, will do. And so I did that, applied. They were always number one. I applied to other schools too, but that's how I got to Kenzie Academy. I chose UX because it's psychology. It really is. It's a service-based business, really. It's not just about, designing something that's so pretty or designing, your first app. Like, it's cool, but you really are a service-based business. You're doing something for the customer, your client. And I like that.
Yeah, I just muted some folks. Sorry about that. Can you talk a little bit more? So you're talking about it's a service-based business, it's the client. Can you give people some examples of like what are the types of clients that need UX designers?
everybody. To be honest with you, if you have a company, and I think people are really starting to realize that now. I love my SC folks, but if the user does not know how to use the app, you could be the smartest person in the world. If it's not usable, but it's functional, it's kind of pointless, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
There, you have to think about how your customer is going to feel when they pick up their phone or when they're going to open that app. Is it going to be a stressor when they open it up? Will they automatically know where their profile is or how to even log out? Every company, every company needs UX designers because you have to pretty much make it simpler. And you have to also protect that brand. The coders and the web developers, you guys are amazing at making things work and publishing it basically. But when it comes to, we put it in layman's terms, I'll say it like that. We put it in layman's terms and make it easier for somebody who, in the beginning, like me, no tech background, but if you were to give me a new app, or any child, to be honest with you, you give them an app, they automatically know how to work it because, things are put in certain areas where it's kind of automatic. This is going to be here. This is going to be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely every company. I think it's now becoming a more respected.
Yeah. And I think for people who might be just joining in and they're still wondering, what is the difference between UX designers and engineers? I'll give you all an example. So think about what goes into building a building, right? If you're trying to build a 100-story building, you need people who are going to be actually laying the bricks, right? They're going to be operating the crane. One sec, let me mute some folks. So you need people who are kind of the builders, right? They're actually executing on a plan. But then you also need people who understand how are we going to design the hallway? Should the hallway be next to a fire escape? Should there be 2 elevators or 1 elevator? When you walk into the lobby, what should the lobby look like? And how does that help the user get to if you're a lobby at a mall, the point of the lobby might be completely different if you're a lobby at a residential building, right? And so UX designers are usually people who have experience knowing what it would be like to be a user going through that scenario, and then they come up with the same kind of architecture of experience architecture for an app. Would you agree with that, Jessica?
Absolutely. It's a big team. Just the people in the front end to make it just come together. But I wholeheartely agree.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
And with Career Karma, just realize that all of you are learning how to code or learning design. With Career Karma, we knew none of it 5 years ago, right? So we had to, as you're thinking about what company you want to start in a year or 2 from now, you're gonna need different skills. You're gonna need to either learn it yourself or find other people who complement your skills, because no one just builds apps by themselves. There's usually different people who come together to execute on these ideas. And Jessica, I know you mentioned earlier that you had some presentation or something that you wanted to share with the folks. Do you have that, or should we just open it up for Q&A?
Yeah. You know what? It's I decided not to do that, but I do want everybody to do something really quickly. If everybody can get your phone, just get your phone out and go to your favorite app. Once you do that, just hold your phone up, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows their favorite app that they're going to immediately go to always, without a doubt. You don't have to pick Career Karma. Timar is not going to bite you.
I picked Career Karma.
I knew you were going to. Okay, so if everybody, thank you guys. Y'all are awesome.
Let me switch the views to the, and if people have their cameras turned off, just turn it on just so we can all see.
That's cute.
Yep, title's mine too. What was that one? I can't see yours, Brandy.
It's Snapchat.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Okay, so when you went there, you went to your favorite app. How do you feel? You don't have to answer this, but think about how you feel when you open that app. You get an immediate gratification and it makes you happy. That's what we do. The person that created all of these apps, no matter if it's for finance, if it's for social, if it's for, mine is also a title, but is also a class dojo because I need to see what my children are doing in school, But if you think about the reason why you're using these apps, there are people that took months probably trying to figure out when you use this app, when you log in, is this person going to log out? If they log out, is it going to be easy to log back in? I love Amazon, but it's not easy to log back in. So, but with anything else, everything takes like a flow. There's a user flow that you have to go through. You log in, you put in your password. Okay, you're into the app. Once you're into the app, where do you go next? Either you make a picture, you make a recipe, you get your favorite music, you put it in a list. All that goes into how we design things and making it easy for you and making you love it. We actually try to make you addicted too, because that's the money side of it. So that's basically UX. That's what we do. We make people come together. The coders, the users, and all of this. And not everything is perfect. Your design will never be perfect. The colors will never be perfect. But if it's good enough where the users love it, you've done a great job. That's pretty much it. That's my spiel on that.
That's a great overview. And I think people who are listening now, they're kind of slowly starting to kind of become aware of like, oh, if I open up Instagram, like, oh, it actually looks like there's a lot of like things popping up at you, or you get a notification, or you get a push notification, and you start thinking like, oh, that was useful, but there's a lot of intent and a lot of tests and experiments that companies usually create in order to figure out how do you retain users better, right? Because I think one of the things people have to realize is that since we are living in a 21st century, right, the whole concept of what it means to have a successful business also changes. If you were building a business 50 years ago, you're operating with a complete different set of tools than you're operating today. Today, if you're Amazon, you're not just a store. You build this relationship with your user, right? Because the person's phone is in their pockets. If you're Amazon, you want to be able to come up whenever someone has a problem, like, oh, I forgot, I ran out of toothpaste, or I ran out of soap. You kind of have a few options. Before that, you always like, well, I'll go to the local grocery store and buy, or supermarket and buy that. Now, Amazon has been able to create this user experience where you're wondering to yourself, should I just open up my app and in 2 minutes I'll order something and in 2 hours it'll be at my door? Or do I need to actually go to the store to buy it myself, right? And so that's part of that experience that companies who are able to retain the users, who are able to provide value, retain them, are actually some of the biggest tech companies in the world. Think of Apple, think of Facebook and Instagram, right? Those are addictive products. And that's why companies, not just tech companies, they want to have more users, not less. And they want to have users that stay for 6 months, not just 1 month. That's why they need UX engineers and UX designers to solve those problems for their products.
Yes, exactly. You're always solving a problem. If there was no problem, just like you said years ago, I mean, there was nobody to say, okay, well, I really need baby formula. I really need tissue. It's raining outside. I really don't want to, go out in the store. But now depending on the store, you can just open an app. They can bring it out to you, or just have a whole boatload of it delivered to your house for months.
Yeah.
It just all depends. But yeah.
Yeah. And Jessica, I think what we were speaking earlier was heavy on design, right? Like, how do you operate as a designer? Um, can you explain the advantages of being a UX engineer? Because you're also learning a set of skills that not even a lot of designers have. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's a cool thing about Kenzie that I love. You have the opportunity to just do the design part, and that's okay. But once you're out there in the real world, what skills are you going to be able to put with it to make yourself more marketable? So the back end of that, the user interface, you have a basic knowledge of code on to get it functioning. If there's anything that you need to go back in and change or modify, you know how to do that as well. So you're basically making this app or this website run, but you're not on the same level as the people who created Career Karma. It's not the same level, but you are right there where if you wanted to go back or learn, the next levels. I don't know the next levels for software engineering, but I know we will be learning JavaScript. So far, that's what I know JavaScript and something else. I'm not for sure.
Yeah.
We haven't went to that part yet, but
Yeah.
we do have that basic knowledge of that. So you would be able to say, for instance, if you wanted to do something on the side and have like a side hustle, you could make a nice 6 figures from that because you have that basic knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And
it's outside of just designing. So you think about how the user would use it, right, on the front end. But then you have to make it make sense. So if it doesn't make sense within the code, it's going to reject it. So that means that you'd have to go right back to your design and then again to your client to let them know, hey, we were thinking this, but it's not going to work. It's not going to fit. So let's rework it and reroute things.
Yeah, and I think especially with small startups, that's actually a very useful set of skills. Because if you're a company as big as Facebook, they have like 500 designers and they have like 5,000 engineers. So like they're not gonna get a lot of efficiencies by having someone know both. But if you're a startup of let's say 10 people, and there's always deadlines and deliveries, and you have someone who can design, but they also can help out and write code and add the user interface, um, then not only are you helping the team, but also the designs that you're coming up with, they're more kind of achievable. You're not creating something like huge and then you're speaking to the engineer and they have to cut down the scope and tell you, well, that's great that you designed it, but we're actually going to have to only do 20% of it because otherwise it's going to take us a real long time to do everything. So that also gives you a good perspective to understand how engineers work, so then you can give them things to do that they can actually do in like 2 weeks. I think to say, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think with Kenzie, basically you do 6 months of engineering and then you do 6 months of design and then 6 months of front end engineering, right? So, and so typically if you do like a bootcamp course, they teach you back end and front end. So they teach you how to set up a database, how to set up a server, and the way to look at it, it's logic and code that you have to write that is not ever visible by the user. It's on the back end. That's where password authorization happens. If your Uber app is arriving and they're sending you a text message when the app gets there, that's probably done on the back end, right? But if you're Uber and you have a map and the user is typing in their address, that's called the front end, because that's what the user is interacting with. And so when you're a UX engineer, you're basically coming up with a design and you're able to build the front end, the portion that the user actually clicks on and drags and drops and interacts with, and then there will be someone else on the team who builds out the back end.
Right. Exactly. So we definitely would be really good for startups or maybe a company that's not as big to do both jobs. But you're still definitely prepared. Like if you live in California or, you know, somewhere like that, Seattle, you still can work for these companies, but don't expect to be, you know, out the gate like, you know, a senior engineer or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah. I think this is a perfect segue to see if people have any questions. I think we have about 30 people on the call right now. If you want, you can unmute yourself and ask your question to Jessica, or you can post your question in the chat.
I'm trying to watch. Oh, JB, she asked a question earlier. Oh, I did say I was gonna go back to that. Did you want me to explain what I was saying, Jamie,
I
or
have
did
two.
you have
So the
another
first
question?
one was I just really like the phrase that you mentioned earlier. You said the intimacy of your story determines something. I wanted to kind of finish that off and copy it and put it on my LinkedIn.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, what I was saying is the intimacy of your story that gives you your authority. And I said that because a lot of times we will talk ourselves out of, you know, going to the moon, to be honest with you. It comes with what we've learned about the imposter syndrome. And if you look just at your past, or if you compare yourself to other people or where you think you should be right now based on, you know, geographics or, you know, your age or whatever the case.
Sorry, my dryer.
No, that's okay. If you get caught up in comparing yourself, you'll always have that self-doubt. And that will talk you out of so much. And even now, I'm so thankful. That's why I reached out to my family here at Career Karma that's with me and Kenzie. Now, there's a few of us we're not in the same cohort, meaning we're not in the same class. We do different things, right? But we literally can reach out to each other and say, hey guys, this is going on. It can be good or bad. And you have people that are supporting you. There are people that have known me all my life. And I told them what I was doing. And they were like, really? Why? You had a good job. Right, I had a job. But here's the thing. If you don't, one, get a circle that's going to support you, and then two, make sure that you stay on top of yourself. Like, take accountability. Yeah, this is the past, this is what you have, or this may be the situation. Get through that and keep going. Like, just do not stop, because you're in a perfect place. You're in Career Karma. You have a network of hundreds of people that are behind you. You have to remember that. It doesn't stop when you go to school. It doesn't stop at all, which is amazing. And I have to tell that to myself, because there's been a couple of times I talked to Amanda or, you know, whoever else, and I'm just like, you know what, no, I can't do it today because I feel like this and this and this is going on. But if I was to stop, or if I didn't start, I probably never would have, to be honest with you, because there's always going to be an excuse, and you can't let that hold you back, because you do have the authority to do better. You do have the authority to do whatever it is that you want to do in life. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, who your parents are, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everything that you've been through brought you to where you are now, and it's going to push you forward. That's my long version of how that is. Did that answer your question?
It did. It really did. And I have another question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it may be a little bit long-winded, but I just finished a coding program, and basically I have the opportunity to either go to Houston for an apprenticeship with Accenture for a year and take a pay cut, big pay cut, or I have an opportunity to have my first email development position here in Chicago, paying about $60,000. But my thing is, I know the front end. I know I want to do UX UI. Do you think it'd be best to just kind of take a couple courses online first to see? Because I don't want to miss this opportunity for work, but then I also want to dive into UX UI as well.
So let me ask you this. What do you have to sacrifice right now to do either of those?
For Houston, I have to relocate myself, unfortunately. So that's my biggest thing.
You have kids or family?
I just have my dog, but I have a cousin who already agreed and said it's okay for me to crash until I get a place in Houston.
Okay. And what's the sacrifice if you stayed?
I've been in Chicago my whole life. I kind of want something different.
What's the sacrifice 5 years from now?
Not taking that
Think about, exactly. You got to think about that. Like right now, our current situation means absolutely nothing. Where will you be in 5 years? Where do you want to be? You make that decision. Because if Chicago's home, you could always come back.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is so like truly beautiful to see, like people just giving advice, helping each other. I think a lot of us we over exaggerate the risk that it takes to do something within the next 3 months, and then we underestimate how much we can accomplish in 2 years or 3 years of our lives. And so that's why I think you need friends and you need peer circles, you need squads to see examples of people who are no different than you, who have taken the leap of faith. They're doing something about it, and then slowly then you start seeing yourself in it. I know that was one of the reasons for me when I was learning how to code. I tried learning how to code 3 times. The first 2 times I just quit, and I just after the second time I just closed my laptop and I was like, this is just not for me. Like I'm just gonna give up. And the third time around, I actually knew someone who didn't go to college for computer science. They did a coding boot camp and then they got a job in tech. And I was like, how's that possible? Let me investigate. Let me ask them how they did it. Once I had context and I actually had an example of someone I actually know who did it, it made I had a goal and I had kind of a role model to look up to and follow their success. And that's why we have these AMAs. And people on these AMAs, they're accessible too. Just by like a show of hands, how many people on this call are actually attending Kenzie now? And you're also on here supporting Jessica. So we got Brandy, Earth, Raina, Tatiana. For the Kenzie folks, can you share what course you're taking at Kenzie, and what were you doing before you started learning coding or design?
So I'll start off. I'm in software engineering. I started in July 23rd. And before I started software engineering, I was a stay-at-home mom for 11 years. And just doing gig work, to supplement my husband's income. And now I have to be the breadwinner for right now. So that's what spurred my change.
Thanks, Brandy.
We can't hear you, Earth.
Earth, I think you might have to reconnect your microphone. Try it again. We can't hear you, Earth. You might have to, sometimes if you log out and log back in, sometimes it reconnects your mic. Maybe, let's see, who else wants to jump in? Tatiana or Raina, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Okay.
They're in my class, by the way. I don't talk much there.
Can you hear me, Timur?
Yep. We can
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Raina, and I am also in class with Jay. So I'm also studying UX UI, and I found this to be a wonderful jump off because before I was a bank manager. I have my degree in accounting, but nothing is really guaranteed. What's great about Career Karma is that it forces you to really look inward at your skills. What do you think you're good at? And not being afraid to take a try, take a risk. I mean, what do you have to lose? You're going to meet people who actually want to help you. And I can tell you from working in management, you have access to all types of tools on the app, on the platform. And I actually got connected with Career Karma, and then I got connected with Kenzie. So I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to meet someone like Jay or Earth or Brandy or anyone. And we're all just trying to learn something to be better for this tech wave that's coming. I'm just so grateful that I found this because if you just look at the trajectory of the way everything is moving, how can you like not navigate without a phone or a computer? What are all the things that you do? Like Jay was describing all those different apps. I have so many apps on my phone. It's embarrassingly ridiculous. I just have like 10 pages of
Yeah.
apps and they're for everything. And so I'm like, well, what would we do if we didn't have technology? So I'm going to be quiet now, but you're in the right
Thank
spot.
you, Raina. Thank you so much for sharing. And you're right on point. Like you're by doing this, you're betting on the future that tech is going to be relevant, and now tech is driving every industry. So as long as you get the skills, you just need one company to give you a job. And there's hundreds of thousands of jobs out there, and you just keep going until you get to your goal. Um, let's see, Earth, you're back now. Do you want to try your mic? Oh no, I think we'll have you come back, Earth, next time. We'll do an AMA on software engineering.
Man,
I want to see, do people have any questions for the Kenzie folks, for Jessica, about UX design?
okay. Live webinar.
Any question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I have like 15 seconds. I want to introduce myself. I'm Tatiana. I'm actually in the UX engineering program with Jessica and Raina. I completely agree with both of them. It's been truly an amazing journey so far, and having the help from our classmates and even with Career Karma has been truly a blessing. I mean, Brandy, Earth, Jessica, Raina, all of you guys have been extremely helpful. With the UX part so far with me has been great. I've been learning, as Jessica mentioned, wireframes, and interviewing. The process of interviewing actually helped me a lot, because from a person that graduated from college last year, I still don't know how to like really talk to people. But with this exercise, I was able to learn and how to ask questions in depth. And it actually helped me with my creative side as well. Kenzie has extremely been amazing on that part. I'm trying to see what else I can say before I leave. I'm sorry, guys, I'm at work. I think that's about it. But yeah, Kenzie's amazing. Please check it out. Please, please, please check it out. And you have Career Karma here.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
And I shared, thanks a lot, Tatiana. And I shared the link. If you haven't heard of Kenzie yet, check out Kenzie Academy. Earth and Tatiana, and I think a few others. They're squad leaders for the Kenzie Academy squad. And if you have any questions about anything discussed tonight, you can ask in there. If you're applying to, let's say you're applying to the school and you get stuck, their CEO is actually in the chat too. So you can ask the CEO of Kenzie questions. His name is Chuck. And there are admissions people there are too, so you can ask them questions. I think as you're getting started, it's very important to just reach out to people through the app who have the same experience, who are doing what you want to do. They might be a few steps ahead of you, and just get their guidance and advice. It's as simple as that. That's why we built Career Karma in a way where it takes away all the friction and also fear reaching out to people that you've never met before, because people know what it was like to be in your shoes when they first started. And that's why so many people are passing the karma around and they're helping those who are just starting out. By show of hands, do we have people who just recently joined Career Karma? Anybody on the first week or second week? Okay, so I see there's Floyd. There's a few people on here who recently just signed up. It's exciting. It's also scary, I think, for some folks. As you're starting to do this, we're here for you. For some of you, it might be 2 weeks to decide what your next step is. For others, it might be 3 months. We have people who take 9 months and they come back to us and they say, well, now I have the time to do it. We're just here, like you'll always be part of Career Karma no matter what. So yeah, Claudia, Aisha, Chanel, Erica, welcome to the fam, and now you're connected to all these amazing students who are doing something about their careers. Earth, you're on now. Does your mic work? I think I heard you before. Well,
Hello?
Yes.
there you go.
You can hear me? Yay! Okay, so hi guys, I'm Earth, and welcome all you new Career Karma folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't even remember the question, so but you guys can hear me.
I think it was just what your experience was before starting Kenzie and joining Career Karma, and how you're liking your course now, and what you're learning.
Oh, okay, so yeah, I'm in the software engineering program. I started with Brandy, and I don't see anybody else from our cohort on here, but before I started, I was living in California, working in California in the cannabis industry. I was working for a startup that spanking brand new, and I actually started out trimming, and if you know what trimming is. But I was like, I have more skills than this. I do a lot of admin work, so I ended up being like the personnel director for this cannabis startup. And just being in California, it's extremely expensive to live there. So I was like, you know what? There's no way I'm going to stay here and be homeless. And my family's on the East Coast. So I came back home, back to the DC area. And I had no clue what I was going to do when I got back home. And then my friend reposted something from Ruben's page about Career Karma. And she was like, Earth, you should look into this, see what this is all about. And I looked into it, and here I am. And what are we in our 6 weeks, Brandy? Like just struggling, but we good. We got the Career Karma family at Kenzie. Yeah. Like we are broken up into groups, and some of the groups don't talk to each other. But I know I have my Career Karma family, and we break out into our own groups. And
every day,
every single day we do this, because some of the groups don't talk to each other. So if you are really doubting if this is the place to be, don't doubt it. It really is the greatest place to be right now, especially if you're wanting to break into tech. So
I agree.
Yeah. And we have about 5 minutes left for this call. I think a unique thing about Kenzie is they help you get a job, like a part-time job with Apple. Has anyone started the Apple job yet? And
last week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
We started wasn't it last week?
Time is coming together for me, but I know we started a few days ago.
Yeah, I think it's one of the symptoms of being in a boot camp. You're always working, right? If you're not at work, you're studying. If you're not studying, you're taking care of your kids. Can you share with the people how Kenzie makes it possible for someone to do like a full-time course, 9 to 3 p.m., and still be able to pay their bills? Because that's one of the common questions that I get, people who want to get this done, but they can't quit their job, or they can't, their hours don't work. So can you talk a little bit about the job with Apple?
Yeah, the short end of that, the job is through Kelly Connect. We can't really say we work for Apple. Apple is our customer, but we do have their equipment and everything like that. But when you apply and you're accepted to Kenzie, you have to be a Kenzie student first of all, and then you apply to the Earn and Learn. That's what they call it. So the times that you go to class is from, depending on where you are from, what side of the world you're on. It's from 9 to 5, really, but you have 2 check-ins. And the check-in, since I'm central, it's at 8, roughly to about 8:30, 8:40. And then you have that time after that to do your work or work on your work and do other things. Then you check in again around noon, and that's about 30 minutes as well. You literally have the rest of the day and in between that time to either work on work, schoolwork, or you can go to work. If you were with the Earn and Learn, that time is from 4 to 8. So they work around your schedule. That's Monday through Thursday. You have Friday off. You work Saturday. You have Sunday off. So if you did have another job, or if somebody could possibly supplement, what you're bringing in, because it is part-time, the time does go by fast. So that's pretty much how it works. You have 24 hours out of the week to work, but then you really have that whole day to yourself. I advise to use it wisely and try to organize your day the best way you can, because depending on what cohort, I can never say that. Depending on what class you're in and what you're studying, your day may look completely different as far as how much effort and time you have to put in what you're actually doing that day. But I will tell you, there's something due every day. There's something due every day. But that's how you make the money. You work from 4 to 8, and then you work on the weekend. I believe it's 9 to
Right,
6.
and
Correct me if I'm wrong.
those times are Eastern. So 9 to 3
Yes.
school, 4 to 8 work, and then on the weekend 9 to 6. And the Sunday off and Friday off is in training. And I think after that you get to kind of pick your off day, the one set off day you want, and then that you have a floating second
You
off
could do
day.
it in succession of each other. I mean, you pretty much choose, but yeah, that's how you make money.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you do like as a job? Is it like, do you have to be by your computer for those 4 hours a day, or can you like, how does that look once you're actually doing the work?
Oh yeah. Okay, so they send you the equipment, and I can actually show you. They send you this beautiful Mac here. And of course it's not yours, but for the time that you're there, I apologize for that. For the time that you are there and you're working, you have that equipment, and I'm trying to think. It's already set up pretty much, but you use the Apple equipment. You're doing tech support basically, and you're an advisor. And with Kelly, the cool thing is they have you on a track where if you're there for 90 days, there's a money bonus. And then if you're still doing good, there's more money that adds to that. So you get to make more than what you actually started with. They pay $13 an hour. So after 90 days, I believe it's an extra $500 on your check. And then after, somebody tell me, but you get another dollar as well. But I can't remember the time frame is that with that. But you do have the option to continue to stay with them if you want to, even when you graduate.
So if you're like in the job search or things like that, if you need an extra few months, you can stay with them. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I think this kind of wraps up the AMA. I think there's a lot of people who found out about UX. Did anyone find out about UX design for the first time on this call? Anybody on here just heard about UX design from Jessica? Or what UX design is? Anybody? So, okay, so looks like Claudia, and I'm sure there's a few others. Our community, we have people from all walks of life breaking into different roles. There are a lot of people who do web development. There's some people who are looking into data science. UX design is also one of those skills that every company needs. And so as you're starting out, you should always explore different tracks. If you're just starting out, there's free prep courses that schools have. So you can just sign up for a free prep course, try it, try 2 different ones, and see what you like. The whole point is, if you want to start, my advice would be to sign up for the school, apply there, and the school will tell you what are the steps that you need to complete for you to get accepted. That would be my advice. I'm going to share the link in here. If you want to sign up and apply to the school, you can just apply. It takes 5 minutes. And then as you're doing the challenge, there's also going to be other schools like Flatiron has a design course, Thinkful has a design course, Lambda has a design course. And so you want to speak to all the different schools to find out which one fits your schedule, your timeline, your finances, all of those things. And then once you get accepted into all the schools, you basically decide which option is best for you. And of course, speak to people who are attending the schools too, to get their feedback and guidance and so on. Awesome. Well, Jessica, Earth, Brandy, Tatiana, Raina, thank you so much for joining. I feel like even though it's only been a few months, I feel like you've been part of our community now for years. And you keep doing the great work of giving it back to others. There's a lot of people who are joining now, and you're doing an amazing job leading the squads. So keep doing that, and reach out to me if you have any other questions. Let's give Jessica a round of applause, everyone, for doing an amazing job. That's it for tonight.